my fellow weirdos, welcome back to my channel. For today we are doing a reading wrap up. You guys will know from watching me that I'm pretty inconsistent with my posting of the videos and also with my reviews because I don't have as much time to read and to film and to do all that stuff as I would like. I just don't. Between my full-time job, my daughter, life and everything it throws at you. I would love to do more of it, but I don't get a chance to. So it doesn't really I don't read enough to be able to do like a monthly wrap up or a weekly wrap up or anything. You see these people who read like 100 books a month, like, I salute you. That's incredible. Me, I got through a few books this month. This is like a past couple of months. And I'm proud of myself because even if it's just a little bit, still even a page a day, I'm like, yay, I did it. So I'm gonna go through each of the books with my opinion on them. As usual, guys, please, if you've read the books and you have particularly if you disagree with my opinion, or you agree with me or whatever, I would love hearing your opinions about the books I'm talking about. Also, if you have recommendations based on the books that I liked, give them to me because I'm always looking to add to my addiction. Enable me. Okay, first up, we have The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. I know, why did I never read this? It's one of those books that has just been on my TBR forever. I am a massive fan of gothic horror. It is my of all the horror genres, gothic, like traditional gothic horror is my favorite. I live for the gothic horror. So the fact that I never got around to this, shameful. But I finally read it and oh, I loved it. Susan Hill is such a good writer. Oh my goodness. The atmosphere, the characters. Before we get into that, if you're unfamiliar, it's the movie with Daniel Radcliffe with the same title is based on this book, and it is about a solicitor who has to go out and deal with the affairs of a reclusive woman in this house that's basically like out on this marsh, and it's inaccessible during high tide. This is how remote this house is. It's out in the middle of the marsh, and then when low tide comes, there's a road you can get to it, and then high tide comes, you're cut off again. Already spooky, right? And this woman dies. He's going to find her papers, deal with her affairs. Sounds simple, right? Except no, it is not simple because there are some mysteries at Aylmarsh. The villagers are always looking at him like, when they say that he's going to this house, they're hinting that there's something very wrong. He sees this woman in black, this emaciated, like she looks like death warmed up. And he since realizes that this house is haunted, the marsh is haunted, and it is a horrible, horrible, evil place to be. It is such a good book. Like all great traditional gothic horror, it isn't your big action-packed, boom, 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 jump scares, things happening every 5 minutes. This is a slow, gradual, burning kind of uneasiness. And that is my jam right there. I love that type of horror. The way that Susan describes the house, the ghost, the horrible things that he sees and he hears, like, no wonder he's got PTSD by the end of it, that's all I'm saying. It's an exceptionally well written book, and it is a perfect ghost story. 5 out of 5 all day long. Read it. Next we've got Clown in a Cornfield by Cesare. I love this book! It is basically a teen slasher, but the slasher is in a clown mask. We've got a girl who moves to this little backwater town that grows corn in the whole end of America, and their town mascot is a clown. And there's a teen party that weekend, and the clown shows up with weaponry and starts slaughtering those kids left and right. It is bloody, it is gory, it is action-packed, and I loved it. This needs to be a movie. Netflix, can you hear me? Make this into a movie. The sequel is coming out very soon. I will be pre-ordering my copy when I get paid at the end of the month because I haven't been able to afford to yet. Sorry, Adam. But I can't wait to read it. I genuinely, it's a really fun read. And as someone who is a big fan of slasher movies, this just spoke to me. Loved it. Another 5 out of 5. Next up we have Sundial by Catriona Ward. This is the follow-up after Last House on Needless Street by the same author, which I freaking loved. This is about a woman in abusive marriage. She's 2 little girls, and she realizes that her eldest daughter is starting to exhibit traits and behaviors that are extremely concerning, potentially dangerous, and she's afraid for her younger daughter, for the older daughter as well. She's worried. These traits remind her of traits her sister exhibited when they were little. And Sundial is the name of the family home she grew up with her sister at. It's in the middle of a desert. It's got hippie retreat vibes about it. And she decides to take her eldest daughter there to Sundial in an attempt to try to get through to your reacher and hopefully help her and help her family as a whole. I have to say, I had really high expectations because I loved Last House on Needless Street so much, and it wasn't as good as Last House on Needless Street. It's a good book, a really good book, but it just wasn't as good as Last House on Needless Street. Saying that, Catriona Ward is an incredibly talented writer. I love stories that deal with our inability to escape our past, because you can't. Your past is a part of who you are, whether you have embraced and like are inspired and are still like you were in the past, or whether you've spent your entire existence running, avoiding, in therapy because of your past. It is a part of you. It has shaped who you are, and you can't run away from it. And I love the use of going back and forth in time by the mother telling the little girl the story of her growing up. And it has this a really wonderful, just ever building tension. Just from the very beginning, you just feel it build and build and build and build and build, culminating right at the end in this big dramatic ending. And it's just, it gets to a point where you cannot put this down until you find out what happens. She's very good at that, because she did that with Last House on Needless Street as well, where you're building towards this conclusion, and once you get to a certain point in the book, that's you're going to stay up to 4 o'clock in the morning until you turn the last page. That's just that. You're gonna have to deal with it. You're gonna have to be tired in the morning, or you're gonna have to call in sick. I don't know, but she's very good at that type of writing, that kind of snowballing effect. I really enjoyed it. I do recommend it. I would give it a 4 out of 5. I wouldn't say it's a solid 5 like Last House on Needless Street was. It is quite slow at points, and there are a lot of moments where, whilst I did enjoy the past to present switching, there are points where you feel like you didn't actually have any revelations from going back into the story. It didn't really tell you anything. It just felt like it was filler. Or you're kind of jonesing for it to start picking up again. You know, it was slightly slow at certain points, is all I'm saying. But her writing more than makes up for it. So yeah, 4 out of 5, solid book, definitely recommend. That was gifted to me in an Abominable book box. So thank you so much to them for sending that to me. Finally, we have Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. Obviously, from this cover you can see it's inspired by IKEA, or everybody's favourite Swedish furniture store. It's essentially about a haunted IKEA. That's the premise, and it's so much fun. I really like Grady Hendrix. I've read a few of his books. I've read The Final Girls Sport Club, Southern Book Club's Guide, Best Friend's Exorcism, and now this. I do have a few still to read. I think that Grady has a really great way of taking something traditional like a haunting or an exorcism or vampires and bringing it into a wholly unique and juxtaposing environment, because when you think spooky, creepy hauntings, you think old degraded mansions like in, you know, The Woman in Black, or you think like a graveyard. You don't think a shiny, beautifully multicolored spick and span IKEA. And I think that that's his strength. He sees horror and creates horror in everyday places and everyday scenarios, in like happy rainbow places where there shouldn't be horror. And it's that almost like opposition between the environment and what's happening that makes it so at points so like jarring. You know, it's just it's a really fun way to write, and I would love to be able to have his imagination, because this, for example, I think was a genius idea. I don't know how anyone's never thought of it before. I love, first of all, I have to give a shout out to Quirk Books, because the fact that they've made this into a catalogue, an IKEA catalogue, because this is exactly what they look like if you don't have one near you. It just added to it. Each chapter is named after a piece of flat pack furniture, and they've all got the stupid weird names like the Brücke, you know, because in, again, if you don't have an IKEA, they all have these weird names. Like, you're not buying a desk, you're buying a Gjorto or something. I just made a noise, but that's what it's like. I don't speak Swedish. Anyway, so yeah, Quirk Books, as usual, like they do really great like books, editions, covers. I do appreciate them. I really enjoyed this. It was just fun. It was just fun. Was it scary? No. But it was a whole pile of fun. I didn't like it as much as some of his other books, which to me were like solid 5 out of 5s. This I'm going to give a 4 out of 5, so still a very reputable score there. Like, I did really enjoy it. I think at points it did kind of wander into cliches when it comes to haunting book, like hauntings and the storyline. It was a bit, I don't know, I think some of the characters, the main bad guy was a bit, he wasn't as three-dimensional as he could have been. It was just sort of like, oh, well, he's a religious nut. That'll do. You know, there was no further explanation into why he was the way he was. It's just like, he's evil and he thinks these things, so just go with it. I think that could have been fleshed out a little bit more. But overall, like, it was just a really fun and entertaining ride. And I loved the characters you get to know the most, which is the manager and the main character, the protagonist. And I also think that it wasn't predictable in the sense that who's going to live and who's going to not. It didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, and usually I'm very good at guessing those types of things, so I appreciated being surprised. So yes, guys, a very solid couple of months. I think because I read at such a slow pace and I'm very like thoughtful about what I'm going to pick next, I'm quite lucky in the sense that I rarely get a bad read or a DNF or something like that. Like my reads are mostly 4s and 5s because I listen to you guys. I listen to you and your recommendations, or I listen to booktube videos or Instagram, bookstagram recommendations, and I filter until I choose my book, and I'm very lucky that I'm usually getting really great overall reads. So if you've read the books, let me know in the comments down below. Did you agree with me? Did you disagree with me? I would love to hear your reviews. If you've got any recommendations based on these, again, let me know. Like, subscribe, all that jazz to help me out. I would really, really appreciate it if you do. And I will see you next time. Bye.